Welcome to Car Lingo with Savagegeese, where we explain terminology used in our videos and other industry anecdotes in plain English and easy to understand examples. So let's talk about today's topics. We're going to cover suppliers and supply chain, what electromechanical systems are, and discuss modern brake systems. All right, let's start with our first term, suppliers. It's a word you hear thrown around in our videos all the time in positive and negative lights. And suppliers are not just exclusive to the automotive industry. Well, let me put it in a way you can understand. Imagine you want to make some chocolate chip cookies. You lay out your ingredients, your butter, your salt, your eggs, your chocolate chips. Do you churn your own butter? Not likely. Are you out there laying your own eggs? No. You're going to a grocery store and you're picking a specific brand to put all that together. So those would be your suppliers. Now, what would happen if you ran out of eggs or the store no longer had that brand's eggs? Well, you'd pick a different brand that would be a different supplier to make your masterpiece. And the car industry is no different. In fact, let's take a brand like Honda, Toyota, Ford, or Chevy. When they manufacture a car, depending on the vehicle, they could have over 500 suppliers, not parts that those brands are making themselves. So think about it. Tires from Bridgestone, Michelin, they're tier 1 suppliers. Brake ABS units, could be Bosch or Mando or Continental. You could have steering wheels, different steering wheel manufacturers, seats, fabrics, audio systems, speakers, you name it. All those are a different supplier. And the magic of making a car come together is integrating all those components together. And that's why making cars and manufacturing them, making sure they're constantly going down the assembly line is so challenging. Just because you put a different seat from a supplier here, different brake system, a different tire system, different engine calibration, even some of the parts in the engines are not made by the manufacturers or that brand. They come from a supplier. So imagine trying to keep all these suppliers in check and making sure the car works. And not only works, but works well. And that's one of the reasons why we constantly talk about suppliers and engineering integration to make sure that all of these teams are working together to make that car consistent every single time. Not only just that car, other vehicles in their lineup. The next topic is electromechanical systems, a big word we throw around in almost every single video, and that's because every modern car has a variation of it. Imagine you want to take a bicycle ride. You sit on your seat and you start pedaling. That force that you're pushing through the pedals goes through a gear, through a chain, and just spins the tire to keep you going. If you want to go faster, what do? You pedal harder. Pretty basic. Now let's say you wanted to add an electric motor to your bike, turn it into an e-bike. Now you're going to add a battery, some layer of software inside the control board and electronics. Now that electric motor is assisting you in pedaling. You can pedal more, you can pedal less, or you can have the electric motor propel you with essentially doing nothing. This is turning your bike into a giant electromechanical system. Same goes through cars. Cars used to be very rudimentary. If you wanted to stop, you used your foot force to push hydraulic fluid to calipers or brakes to get the car to slow down. Then there was brake boosters, electronic brake boosters. Now you have drive-by-wire, so you have an advanced set of systems, electronics, and software to control all these things to talk to each other. One of the main reasons for this invention of this technology, a lot of it was driven by safety systems, anti-lock brakes, stability control, traction control, and of course all the other supplemental safety systems like airbags and all the sensors required to make that work. So it's no longer just a question of why can't we just have bicycle-like simplicity in cars? Well, with all these systems having to talk to each other and computer controlled and software controlled, they've all needed to become electromechanical systems to make sure that everything's working properly. Our next discussion is brake systems, and this ties together our discussion with suppliers and electromechanical systems, and nothing applies here more than this. There's different brake suppliers for different brands. Even some brands may use the exact same brake system, but the difference is how they do the software integration or how they do the programming of these systems. So you might have the same brake system in two cars, but they might feel completely different, and that's dependent on how the engineer does it. Think about this. If you had the same recipe and you give it to 5 different people, again, to make those cookies, 5 different people might have 5 different tasting cookies just based on the way that they made them, how they mix the dough. All those variables can come into play and affect the outcome. The same thing goes for cars. So let's talk about the different brake systems. The old school ones where you literally hit the brake pedal with your foot and it required so much brake force to push the pedal down, to push that hydraulic fluid into the calipers, to squeeze the discs or drums to stop the car. It's very similar to what you think about with your bicycle. You grab the handle, you grab your brake, pulls a cable, grabs those two rubber pads on the wheel, and it stops the bicycle. Well, clearly that's long ago, because the problem with that is it required a lot of leg force that modern people in modern societies, it's not so safe for people anymore. So things have moved on quite a bit from there. We have vacuum assisted brake boosters, which use a membrane to amplify your foot force. So when you hit the brakes, you can push it a little bit, but that brake booster is able to amplify that force to create more pressure to stop the car without you having to push so much with your legs. And those systems are still in place in certain sports cars and, of course, more affordable cars. The problem with that membrane is it's heavy, it's big, and you can't really move it anywhere else except in that one spot. It takes up a lot of space. The other thing is it's a lot harder to control electronically, and this is why we've seen so many brands move over to systems like Bosch's iBoost or systems from Continental or Mando. These systems now remove that large membrane and move to a decoupled brake pedal. And a decoupled brake pedal means that you're pushing the brake, there's still a connection into that brake booster, but it's no longer a manual or a hydraulic process. It's using an electronic pump, which then amplifies the force or creates extra force of pressure onto the hydraulic fluid and into the brake discs to grab them there. The benefits of having that electronic pump is it reduces the size quite a bit. It reduces the weight so they can fit more things into the engine bay. So it also allows them that flexibility of safety controls. So most people have a really hard time understanding that you have to push your foot very hard when you want to brake. So the electronic brake boosters have allowed them to program these systems to take over electronically. When it detects a crash, it may apply more force than you're actually putting in your foot. It may just take over and apply a maximum force so the car will stop and you won't hit someone else. It's also there to assist in cruise control or semi-autonomous driving, where the car can literally take over that brake pressure without you even touching your foot. So again, it's about the software and electromechanical controls. But the problem with decoupled brake, and we talk about this in sports cars, is despite it having a physical plunger through there, there's no feedback through the system. It's decoupled from the actual hydraulics. So despite it having a sensor there, and it's telling what the electric motor should do for creating that hydraulic force, it's not giving you any feedback from the ABS system because, again, it's decoupled. It's not giving you any feedback through the pedal. So they tune it through a set of springs. And that spring is what gives you that smooth feel when you push it down or when it comes back on your foot. But it's static. It doesn't matter what temperature it is. It doesn't matter how much you use the brakes or how little you use your brakes. It typically doesn't vibrate from ABS actuation, so it always feels the same all the time, which when you're dealing with a performance car or you're driving hard, there's no feedback in there. You could literally lose brakes and the pedal would feel the same. Now the difference with decoupled brake is because it's physically connected through there. If the electronic pump fails, you can still push the brake down and it will go in an emergency fashion to create some type of braking force to try to stop the car. The next system is brake by wire, and this is completely different than decoupled. Decoupled still has a set of sensors on there for velocity or force. Brake by wire completely removes even that physical connection, and it's just essentially a switch. Like a video game controller. When you look at some of the sim pedals, it's almost identical to that. They either use a set of springs and a load cell to approximate what you're doing with your foot. But by doing that, it's completely, again, removing any type of feel from the car. It's just detecting how fast you're pushing the pedal, and the software does the rest. It's all up to the engineers how that pedal is going to react when you push it to control the brake system. But again, that pedal now is all digital and it's going to feel the same no matter what you do to it. Now they're going to get creative and add haptics where there could be vibration they can put with little electric motors in there or some type of other feedback through the pedals to make it feel like it's physically connected, but that's more in the sim world right now than in the real world of automobiles. What this allows them to do is do completely autonomous driving. It's great for electric cars when packaging is different. It allows them to take that electronic brake booster, that entire module that was before, not only shrink it down, but now they can put it anywhere in the car. It no longer has to be by the brake pedal in the car. They can move it to the side, anywhere they want for packaging, which means they have space to put other things. And that's a huge reason why a lot of companies are going to be moving to this, because as every single car goes to electronic control of everything through their safety setups, their computer systems, they can just decouple everything and make it a digital system. It pretty much already is, and that's why you're seeing the move towards that quite a bit. We've reached the end of this episode of Car Lingo, where I gave you a high-level overview of the importance of suppliers and how it affects the manufacturing of cars. We talked about electromechanical systems and how it's taken over the car industry. It allows engineers to change things, make cars feel different through the software layer. It gives them the flexibility to change things without having to change every single mechanical part of the car. And the importance of integration, of trying to get all of these systems to talk together. It's really the magic, which we'll detail more in future episodes. And I also talked about the difference in brake systems, from packaging, the shrinkage, the loss of weight, and of course, the electromechanical control of these systems and the importance of how the safety suite is integrated so heavily into the brake pedal. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in future episodes.